Okay, I want to show you guys the project, and I'm going to start with a 12 gauge sterling silver round, and I cut myself about 4 inches, and then I did another 2 inches. And I'm going to show you guys just really how to do a little bit more with, you know, this links and relaxing. Please don't mind my mess over here to the left. Moving forward. Okay, now I'm starting, this is a 12 gauge. I've got 2 pieces here, and I just wanted to show a really nice little link here. I've got 2 pieces, and one is a 2 inch and one is a 4 inch. And I am going to start, I know I've showed you guys this before, but I'm just gonna start very gently. It's a little bit different than the piece I just showed you. This one I'm gonna kneel and come back in again. This piece I want flat all the way down. Just a little bit flat. If it starts going a little crooked, you just hit it from the side. Okay, that's about how far I want to go without annealing it. You really want to have these center areas a little bit flattened too, in case you need to drill a hole through there. I'm going to use this a 52 bit to drill, because whenever you're drilling through these positions, you want to keep it a little higher than you normally would. I'm going to go ahead and anneal these. Okay, so you can see these are growing. I have a nice paddle. What I actually did was I went in with my bench and my bench wheel, and I actually, with the Scotch-Brite wheel, I just polished up the sides of these. So they're nice and clean. They're a lot cleaner than they looked before. When I go in the second time, you're gonna see how much it spreads. So, you know, this makes it easier. So, you know, at first I kind of had a rough cut edge. I went in and I pushed it to a certain distance, but not really too far. You know, I just flared it out. I just flared it out as much as I want to. You never want to move cold metal from, you know, in a really quick way from one position to another, like so quickly. So you want to work into it very, very slowly. So for this piece, you know, I started flaring very, very gentle, and you're going to see how much I can move this piece now. So I'm going to go in and really get this piece flared out. I didn't anneal it. I'm efficient, so I'm just going to anneal it all at one time. But you can see the difference between the two. You know, just how much more I can get this flare going between these 2 pieces here. There we go. See? And then I'm just shaping it. I know it's harder to see when it's not annealed on my anvil. But exactly where I hit is where you can really get this piece to spread. There. This piece is looking good. Get a little bit more in the body. Now, let me get at this piece. So you can see a big difference in both of these pieces. One of them is spread just by annealing it. When you first get your wire in, even though it says it's annealed, it's not quite as annealed as when you do your annealing yourself. Anytime it sits around for a small period of time, it will get work hardened. So, and that's what you want a lot of the times when you finish your work, is you want your work to get work hardened. So it doesn't bend when you sell it. It doesn't bend out of shape. The more you practice, you'll get better at this, so don't worry. You know, it just takes a little bit of work sometimes, hitting it by the side. Okay, I got my two beautiful ends. I'm gonna anneal this and let's go over to my bench. I like using my MAP gas to anneal. It gives me a lot of power and, you know, anneals it so quickly and efficiently. Okay, so once it's annealed, I'm going to be able to bend this beautifully in place. Okay, I think I'm going to start with, oh my gosh, I've been using so much of these lately. I'm going to start with the middle one. This one's going to go right here in the center. So my loop, I'm just going to bend it around my pliers, maybe a few times. You know, you can see I can get a nice bend in here, a nice circular shape if you like circular. Many times I actually bend these on my own. So don't worry, you know, however you like your bends, but isn't that a pretty one? Now I'm gonna build this around this loop right here. So I'll move this and just keep this here so you guys can see it. And this one is gonna go around a few times, but I need this to be bigger, you know, a little bigger than the one in the center. So I can keep this small or big, you know, I can have a lot of room in between. So it's all about your own art form. And here really is where, you know, this work becomes your own as a metal worker. A lot of times I like to do these free form to really let them shape themselves up into a different type of shape. What I like to do is I like to put my ends on different sizes, so it just kind of balances itself out. You could actually, I might do this one a little bit smaller. I kind of like a little tighter fit, but some people really like this space in between. So that's, you know, all going to be your preference. And this is really where, you know, you guys can all learn the same technique, but your work really becomes your own. You know, just by these little tiny bit of adjustments that you do. Because this is annealed, look, I can really get this nice and closed up here. So again, oh, I'm happier with this fit. Now this one is really a circle. Sometimes I do ovals. And this one is gonna be a beautiful, beautiful fit. So I'll do these once in a while. And you know, also by making things your own, I can put a little bit of granulation around the side if I wanted to, and then go ahead and attach it afterwards. But I'm gonna show you attaching. I just make sure that both of my, you know, I don't wanna stack up all of my endings in one place. See how it looks there? Rather, I flip it around and let it be more balanced. Okay, let me get my drill and I'll show you the attachment. Okay, the first thing I want to do is I'm going to do a connection here. I can see it. This is really where I start loving these pieces. You know, if you want them married tighter, you just would anneal it a little, do a close. Okay, there we go. I'm putting an attachment here. And this is why I made sure, I don't know if you guys remember when I was actually going in and forging my piece, I made sure that the whole wire was forged and flattened a bit, because I need to actually put an edge in this tiny, tiny area. The only way I'm going to be able to get an edge, you know, in this tiny area and drill a hole is with these pliers. It's still a little bit thick, so I can get in with my drill. So let me do this, bring this over for the drilling. Temporarily, you guys can see this. Okay. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to come in here with this area right here and give myself, I'm going to have to bring it this way. Make sure when you're drilling in these unusual positions that you, you know, really feel confident going in, because, you know, and I always use, as I said, a 52 bit. It's a little heavier than normal. But, you know, it's a little bigger than you'd normally think of putting a hole, but it actually stands up really well and does not break for the kind of unusual angle that you have to be on. You don't want to do any type of tension as you're drilling here. Okay, that one, it didn't go through to the next level. So what I'll do sometimes is I'll put a little mark on here. This one, it didn't go through. So I put a little mark on here with my drill bit, and now I'm gonna go through it. Just a tiny bit with my drill to make sure it's in the right position. So if you're not sure it's going in the right position, you know, really you wanna make sure that you check and double check. Now, I can already tell you guys that one thing you don't wanna do when you're doing this type of attachment is have tension. So you wanna really get your hole lined up, which tension, oops, I keep pulling it the wrong way. You can see my hole will go straight through. Tension means if my hole is off, like my hole is off and I hold it into place to draw a bead, it's just gonna snap. So that's where you really wanna make sure. Here's where I have my mark on here, so let me go in and drill it. This is a wooden ring mandrel that really gives you a nice support system when you're drilling. I know you guys can't see that well. There we go. But you have to trust me that when you're drilling in this odd position, you know, you really just need to make sure that everything's in the right spot. Okay, I'm actually going to pull this through, I think with a 20 gauge. Let me grab my 20 gauge. Here's a 22, here's a 24. Let me grab my, maybe I'll do a 22. Okay, I'm just gonna pull it through with the 22 gauge. I have this again. I'm just gonna draw a bead right up here like this. Draw a nice chunky bead with my 22 gauge. And I usually will bring this up and out. So you're gonna start with the one in the center. And I'm gonna bring it to, whoops. Start with the one in the center. And I'm gonna bring it, it's a little harder to thread it through this, but once you get it to the top, it's easier to draw a bead. See, isn't that looking nice already? Now, if you wanna make sure it's centered, you have to leave a little bit of extra room and don't draw the bead right up to the end. Does that make sense? Okay, get this cut. Since it's a 22 gauge, I'm gonna leave like an inch. You know, if it was a 20 gauge, I would only leave a, you know, I'd probably just leave like a half an inch. It all depends. This is gonna need a lot more metal to work its way up. And then I'm just gonna hold it right like this. A little higher, there we go. Got it, see that? Drawing a beautiful bead. Get that quench. Yep, my fault. Okay, see how that's nice and centered? And you wanna make sure it stays in the right position. See how that's nice and centered with the way that I've drawn a bead? So now I'm gonna go, I can see, I can do one here. So here's your positioning. I can do one here because I have a big stack that's flowing, and I can do one here. This position, even if I just do two, this position right here is the most important because I can go through 3 pieces at the same time. Here I'd be going through 3, but this is really gathering this bulky edge. Once I get all 3 of my sides in, I can make a decision and draw a bead tighter if I need it tighter in here. So let me go ahead and get this done here. I'll show you. This is parts that I never am able to show with people because there's never enough time. So I'm gonna pull this one out of the center, and I'm gonna actually get this marked. This is just marking me now, marking, and I'm gonna just try to pull it through without this one on the bottom, but I'll hold it tight. Okay, get my drill. And I'm just gonna come very, very gently, guys. Get it as far as you can. I'm gonna hold it straight up and down. Make sure your hands stay out of the way. Let it catch first before you start going fast. And really with drilling, just make sure it's well oiled. I kind of wiggle it around a little bit. If it gets hot, back off. That means that you're going in too fast and it's hurting your drill bit when it starts going too fast. You know, that's a good way to burn out a drill bit. So this one came out beautiful. Look at how beautifully it slid through all 3 of these. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull it through. Okay. If you did want to go through the center, it actually, you get a really nice bead in this center area because, get that through and talk. Oh, mine fell off. Okay, let me grab it again. Mine fell off. Okay. Okay, if you want to go through the center, what I was saying is I'll show you how to do that because you get a really nice heat. You know, the inside of your circle will hold this heat. So you actually can get more heat going if you're having trouble with heat. And you can hold it a little bit, you know, easier, exactly in place. I don't need all of this for mine. Now, I also want to give you this little tip. Today is just about all these little tips and refining. So if I want to draw a bead this way, just lean it forward. Can you see how I'm just leaning my link forward and leaning my wire forward? Because then I can come in with my torch. If it was stuffed inside of there, it's just creating more work for myself. Let me see if I can hold this where you guys can see it drawing a bead. I'm just trying to get this held in place. Okay, so you guys will get to see it in action. There we go. See it. Voila. Okay, there we go. I'm a little bit off today with getting you good. Yeah, so actually, see that? It's nice and sturdy. I might keep it like this because this area here that's open, you know, it's sturdy enough. It's going to stay in place. And this area here, I can use it as a link in my work. So that'll actually be really beautiful. So I wanted to show you guys that. What the heck? I'm going to put in one extra though. Really turned out nicely. Love it. Okay, the second link that I want to show you guys is this catch. It's a catch link, and I've got about 6 pieces of 16 gauge, 2.5 inches. Don't mind my hands, they're a little bit messy. Don't mind my studio, a little bit messy. All right, so this one I'm going to show you guys this as well. Okay, you guys, here's my hammer and anvil. I'm just going to show you close up. I know a lot of you guys know this. This is the 16 gauge, and I'm just going to very gently start by hitting this tip. I kind of want to flare that tip out beautifully. So think of 50 hits, very, very gentle. Very, very gentle, and you can see the way that it's just kind of, this side I'm going to keep fairly straight. I'm going to draw a bead on this side. Okay. Get it nice and flared out at the edges. And I'll probably go in and anneal this and even work it a tiny bit more. Actually, I'm just going to work those edges and marry it in. Very, very gently marry this edge in. Marrying it in means to bring it from the flared position all the way up into this, you know, into this round. So you want to bring it just very gently. So there's a transition. It's called transition. If your piece goes a little bit off, like this one, you just get in here and you pull it into shape. And then I'll also kind of file this and clean it up a little bit on my, rather than a file on my bench. Okay, so I've got my edges flared, and this one actually is this way, kind of straight at this end, and I'll bring it over here and I'll show you guys what I'm doing with these. I have to anneal them, so I'm going to anneal those and connect. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is I am going to anneal, and I want to anneal before I pickle. And then I'll pickle. So I think it'll be a nice, easy way to do things. So I'm just gonna get in and Bring these up to a red glow. You can see I have flux on my screen. Okay, there we go. I'm gonna get these pickled and then I'll show you guys the next step. Okay, well, they're not all the way pickled. My pickles is still cold, I'm just getting in. I wanted to show though, if you wanted, I annealed, and if you wanted your edges wider than this, you can just go back in and widen them out a little thinner. You know, you want to be a little bit careful with silver. Silver doesn't hold up as well when it's super thin as well as copper does. Now, copper is a material that holds up very well. Okay, here we go. Oops, this actually punched all the way through because it's so thin, which saves me time. So these are actually made to mark your piece for a connection, but you can use it to punch through too. So I'm just gonna go ahead and do that. Makes it nice and easy. Or you can drill. This is a great tool. I use this so much when I'm working with wire, this tool. And you get real accuracy when you're looking, you know, to punch through. Okay, there we go. I've got this side done. Now, you know, the next thing I'm gonna do is, this one is a little bit dull, so if it does leave a mark here, you wanna get in and kind of sand this off right here. You do that. Because you don't want this to get in the way with your customer, to ruin their clothing or anything like that. Okay, so there we go. I'm gonna come in here, get my pliers. It's a beautiful way to make a chain. I like to just, and I'm gonna go ahead and turn this on, and I'm gonna draw a nice chunky bead. There we go. Quench it. Beautiful chain. It's almost like a Christmas chain, right, guys? So don't, you know, here we go. Don't disregard this. You can see this end is gonna have to be paddled too, or a bead drawn. So now I'm getting a nice, you know, you can, I love the swivel on this. You can change the sizes when you're building, but it really gives you such a beautiful, beautiful edge. And I'm gonna come in from this way again, and you'll start to see the link happening. Okay. Yeah, okay. Coming in from here. Just different ways to make a link. But now you always, whenever you're drawing a bead, you want to hold it absolutely upside down like this and bring it forward, and there you go. And I'm starting to get a beautiful, beautiful chain here that'll be very comfortable around my neck. And I'm just gonna keep building with it. So that's one chain. I'll take the picture when it's done. You can see where I need to just continue on. Okay, so that's one idea with the chain. I'm gonna keep going and I'll show it to you when I'm done. Now, if I want to do a bracelet with this, here is my bracelet mandrel, but you can also, you know, if you don't want to purchase a nice heavy metal one, you can also use these wooden ones. I use these wooden ones to polish also. And you just want to get in here and shape, you can shape your piece around. It's going to be a beautiful bracelet, and I can see how much more room I need. And I'm just gonna bring my piece around. So I'm bending it a little bit the opposite way than I had it earlier. There we go. And for a slip-on, I can see, you can see the bracelet here. Oh, it's gonna be so pretty. Let me see if this is gonna fit me, if I just draw a bead on here, or if I need to add one more link, or what is going on. Just a nice little simple one. I think I'm gonna add one more link. There's gonna be a little bit, but maybe I won't make my link quite as long as I have here. So let me shorten this up a little bit, And I am going to, this end is drilled through, so let me bring this in. I'm gonna draw a bead here and I'll show you how to get this finished up. Okay. That's a short page. Sometimes you work in here and you're like, am I doing this the right way? You know how you do that sometimes, but look, it's gonna end beautifully because I've got my end here. So I was able to just measure it out loosely. I don't really want to solder this together. Of course, you could solder this together, but let me get the whole bracelet, you know, but I really like the looseness to it and the movement. For me, I'm all about the movement. Okay. Whoops, I keep dropping my stamp. Sorry about that, guys. Okay, so now I just have this beautiful little bracelet like this, right? I mean, if you guys wanted to, you could solder it together. You could leave it loose as cold join. So, you know, one of the things, you don't really have to get in here with your hammer, but you do want to get in here and just make sure all of your edges, maybe I'll go in here with my rubber mallet. Just make sure all of your edges are, and you don't really have to do this on an anvil. You know, you just want to make sure all of your edges are done beautifully and work well. Just need a little bit of tap. Mostly the bending. This was definitely annealed, so you're not going to have the, you know, you need a little bit of wear and tear. You could take it off of here and you could hit it a little bit with a hammer if you wanted to, you know, and keep it like this. Just really movable and flexible within there. Or like I said, you can go in and hit it with solder. So I'm gonna go ahead and pickle this and I'll get you guys a photo of this beautiful little link and shape. And of course, you guys know you can do a choker this way by longer pieces, shorter pieces. You would just keep the back open and I'll show you a clasp if you're gonna do a choker. Okay. Okay, you guys, I'm gonna show you soldering this first piece together. You know, I just pulled this out of the pickle and you know, has a lot of movement to it. Might be fun just to wear like this. Once it's oxidized, it would be really fun and have a lot of movement. But if you did want to make it into a bangle, I'm gonna show you that. Just soldering together these edges. Now I want to, and then you can really shape it and polish it better too. So I want to say when I do this type of work, I'm gonna go around, I'm actually just gonna dip the pieces in since it's still pretty movable. And what I do is I just use up the scraps of silver that is on my table. You know, this is like an opportunity for me just to, I do a lot of pick soldering, so I have all this extra solder laying around sometimes. This is my flux. When you keep it out, did you guys notice it just turns a different color? So you kind of lose that bright yellow. But that's okay, it still works just as efficient. I water it down, I'm constantly watering mine down so I don't get that big blanket of, you know, the big poof of white foam that comes up. Okay, so there's a couple of these that look really pretty. I'll show you the angle. Remember, when I talk about soldering, it's always about the angle. Always about the angle. Let's get this going. Whoops. Okay. You don't need that much heat. It's always about this angle. So let me get in here and actually get this a little lower. So I don't know if this is, I think a lot of it is medium on my table. Medium is pretty. I do like medium solder. So I'm gonna come from this farther spot right here and just lay my solder down in the front. And come from the bottom. There we go. Okay, get to the next one. Okay, that one I don't really like the angle, but I do like this one. So let me get this in. And I'm hitting it, you can see right where I'm hitting it. I just have to make sure that the thin ends don't get damaged with heat. And I just want to see my solder flow through. Maybe I do need a little hotter. There we go. Whoops. Sorry about that noise. Okay, this one looks good too. Let me get a little bit of pick solder going. This time I'll work from this way. Get the bead drawn, there we go, really tightly. Work from this way. Oh, there we go. So always you want to put your heat on the opposite side. Really cold in here too, so my, push this a little bit away, right here. My last one. There we go. All right. This should be nice and solid, and then I can shape it. There we go. See how solid that is? Then I can shape it. So let me bring that over. And once now that this is soldered, we'll just pull it into shape. There we go. Oh, that one's a little dirty, and that one did not solder because it is dirty. So then I'm going to go back in and resolder that area. Voila, I'll show you the photo when it's done.